Okay. So, it's a lot on my mind, a lot of noise, and there's a lot I feel like I need to talk about. And so, I want to just do something raw, something real. Just one take, no edits, just raw shit, I guess. So it's been about 2 weeks now since I've started vlogging, and it's been interesting to say the least. I didn't really expect to like vlogging. I'm someone that historically has been very socially anxious and hated drawing attention and stuff like that. But there's been a lot of really cool, I guess, discoveries with vlogging. I feel like when I first started, the first few ones, it was really just me turning on the camera, pressing record, and just talking. And it was very therapeutic. It felt like I was just doing a diary entry or some shit, like a journal entry. Just saying what's on my mind. It felt very liberating. And yeah, it was nice to just put my thoughts into words and kind of get it out of my head. And it was a lot of fun. I was very passionate. I mean, I have been enjoying it. But as I've gone on a little more, and I've had some videos where the views start ticking up and I get more excited, right? I'm more result oriented. I'm like, wow, like this one got a lot of views, like this is super cool, like blah blah, I should do this, I should do that. And when I first started vlogging, I had very clearly set an intention for myself to be very honest. Oh well. To be very honest. There's a lot of dojis back here. To be very honest and transparent as much as I could about the process. And I mean, my very first video was literally just me talking for like 17 minutes. And it was pretty terrible, I think. But that's with anything new that you start. You're not going to be an expert. But anyways, I kept going and it was a lot of fun. I was trying new things, having new ideas, and just kind of figuring my way around through it. And I started realizing that there was, I don't know, it was so quick for me to get back on, to kind of feel that sense of urgency, to really chase everything I had set myself not to chase. The views and subscribers and trying to make it really high quality, really interesting, blah, blah, blah. I so quickly lost sight of my vision for it and what I enjoyed about it and what I wanted to do. And I was just feeling anxious and like my mind was just thinking, oh, like what do people want to see? Like, oh, is this clip too long? Like, should I make it shorter? Like, is this authentic? Like, blah, 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 all this shit. And that's had me thinking today about a lot of different things, and particularly about, I guess, just all the noise. And what I mean by that is, I feel like before I started traveling, and I spent a year in China last year, and it was a great decision in my life. Oh my god. And sorry, there's a dog that was staring at me intently. I was a little spooked. Yeah, I spent a year in China and I really loved it. And I started doing a lot of traveling afterwards. And you know, I went to Mexico for a while, and it was a lot of fun. But I realized, I mean, you kind of get burnt out when you travel for an extensive block of time. And I realized, like, I started not really liking touristy shit. Like, I didn't want to see things, or like I didn't want to see like the top attractions and stuff, the touristy shit. And I guess like traveling is like any other vice. And if you've seen my video about why I'm in China, I realize I'm repeating myself a lot. But it's important context. But it's like a vice, like it's like food, it's like sex, it's like drugs. Like you get some and then it feels great and then you want more and more. And for me, I mean, traveling was when I felt most happy. But what I'm realizing now is it's not like there's a difference between like a vacation and like, or I guess like vacations, when you're like kind of grinding and stuck at work all year and like you hardly get time off, like you really appreciate what you don't have. You really appreciate like a nice vacation and relaxing and indulging and luxury and all this. But I've essentially been like traveling long term and kind of, I mean, semi non-stop for maybe 6 months, 5 months. And I mean, you kind of get bored of that. And oh my God. You kind of get bored of it. And I mean, you feel kind of shitty about that too, because it's like most people in the world can't travel. Most people don't really have the means to travel. And there's a lot that a good mindset can do for you. And I think there's a lot of people that want to travel but think they can't when they really could. But there's also a lot of people that are just born into shitty situations. I mean, if you're American, you've already won the lottery. The goal for a lot of people in their whole life is to get to like the starting point of where we are when we are born, right? In the sense that we're in a comfortable living situation. We don't, I mean, most Americans, I think, compared to other parts of the world, I mean, it's just the standard of life, the quality of life is exceedingly better. And most people aren't starving. Most people have what they need. And sometimes we confuse what we want with what we need, and people are like, I mean, I want this, and I need the new iPhone, I need this, I need that, blah, blah, blah. And it's, you know, it's easy to get stuck in that state of mind. But part of the reason I left the US was because I felt like I had what I needed, and I had food, I had water, I had shelter, I had family, but the way I was living just wasn't fulfilling. I felt empty. I felt like I had no purpose, and a lot of people around me had no purpose. And you know, I think misery loves company. Like when you're miserable, you want other people to be miserable too, and the people around you to be miserable, even if you don't realize it sometimes. And I had a lot of people surrounding me that were very toxic, not very good influences. And over COVID especially, our friend group was quite degenerate and just not a good place to be. And it conditioned me to, it's kind of like being chronically online or terminally online, I think it's the term. But it's like when you're online, you see the most negative things. Like you see a lot of times the worst of people. There's a lot of great potential to being online, and it's kind of why I have a love-hate relationship with being like online, and even with posting vlogs and stuff, because like there's a lot of potential to reach people all over the world with a message or, I mean, whatever. But it's also so easy and really just programmed and like shaped to kind of just suck you in and keep you just craving more and more. And I think the world's just becoming more and more fast-paced, more dopamine hits. I mean, everyone's desensitized. Pornography, drugs, like all this shit. And being in Thailand, I'm in Thailand right now, and being here has been very eye-opening for me. And there's one thing that I guess has kind of been bothering me about Thailand, and I guess like the way some people view Thailand. And you know, the thing is, it's so easy to criticize, it's so easy to hate. Like, there's no end. Like, there are people who can be well-meaning and they try to be like, you know, ethical travelers, ethical tourists, this and that. And, you know, they try really hard and they're well-meaning to, you know, not like exploit people and stuff like that, and just kind of, I don't know, do things in a good a way as possible. I guess like minimizing like the negative effects they might have when traveling, whether that's like pollution or I don't know, what's that word, gentrification, shit like that, right? And so, you know, it's interesting because a lot of times when you're a foreigner in a new country, you know, you feel special. And then I feel like something I've observed is that a lot of times, and I mean, it's something I'm guilty of too, I've had these thoughts and these feelings before, where it's like, you kind of start like despising other foreigners. Like I saw a video the other day that a friend sent me, and it was about Thailand, and it was this guy talking about just, I don't know, it came off to me as like he was very resentful, and he was like, oh, like a lot of people come to Thailand and they're just like trying, like their biggest import is self-actualization or something like that. Like, my interpretation was that he felt a lot of people were coming and just being kind of shitty, like foreigners, or like just kind of like using Thailand as like a means of like, I don't know, self-righteousness. Like, I mean, self-actualization is a bit of a weird term. I haven't encountered it too much, but yeah. And so, I mean, like a lot of the comments were just very bitter people, kind of just hating on like foreigners, but a lot of them like are also foreigners in Thailand. And so like, and even this, like, I'm sure there are people who are gonna see this and be like, oh, this guy is projecting, this guy is hating on other people, and this and that. And it's really not my intention. I try to not really judge people, and to be very accepting of people. And I know there's reasons as to why people do things. And I think in the US, there's a lot of people that have a lot of personal problems and probably struggle similar to me in a way, like a lack of purpose and just trying to escape the noise and find a way in the world, I suppose. But one of the things there's another dog that's spooking me a bit, but I think he's chill. One of the things about Thailand, and you know, I guess it's like valid criticism, because in just the short time I've been here, I mean, and also just in talking to people that know I'm here and like, I guess have like, perceptions of Thailand, a lot of it is just kind of like, I don't know, like it doesn't really sit well with me. Like it's like talking, it's about like the prostitutes and like the sexual tourism, the lady boys, like this and that, like how it's so crazy here. And I had a friend a week or two ago. He was here in Thailand, and he talked about these other people that he knew who were also living in China, and they were like these married older dudes from the West, and they would come to Thailand and like go to clubs, like get prostitutes, go like to massage parlors and get like happy endings, like all this stuff. And like, I mean, everything is so gray. There's so many shades of gray to everything. Like even for like sexual tourism, like there's a lot of people that maybe feel like they actually benefit from people coming in and they don't have a problem with doing that. Kind of like OnlyFans and like the debates around that. But something about it just doesn't really sit well with me in the sense that like as people from the West, from the US, from Canada, like we're born into such good conditions. Like we just win the luck of the draw. And the way some of these people talk about Thailand and the people here, and it just kind of, it feels very degrading. Like they're minimizing all these people to just like, kind of just like they're just like objects. Like there's this YouTube video that popped up in my feed talking about like the Philippines and like whether Filipino women are still interested in foreigners. And I mean the comments were like, oh, like I'm still trying to find myself a Filipina. Like it's just like, it was very bothersome. It felt like they were not even talking about real humans. Like it was just talking about this object, like, oh yeah, I want myself like a nice Filipina, like blah blah. And it just kind of makes me think how, I guess to put it in blunt terms, like how fucked up it is that like there are all these people that kind of, I mean, I guess just it feels like they just come to exploit these people in vulnerable positions. And I mean, Thailand, I think, is literally one of the places with the most human trafficking in the world. A lot of people from other parts of Southeast Asia come through to Thailand and they get trafficked here, from my understanding. And like, there's such a dark side to like pornography and like prostitution and all this stuff, because like, you know, like if it's someone that's consenting and they do it out of free will, I mean, that's its own thing. But a lot of these people like could be victims of human trafficking, and everything that we do affects others, right? Like the world is very interconnected. It's the same with like, I feel like in the US, there's in like colleges and frats, there's like a casual demeanor about using like hard drugs and stuff. And it's just like, it's so nonchalant. But I mean, like the places where these drugs are coming from, I mean, there's a lot of turmoil, there's a lot of violence, there's a lot of cartels in Mexico, there's this and that. And it's probably no different here. I'm sure there's so many people that suffer at the hands of, I guess, the sexual tourism industry here. And it just feels bothersome, I guess. And I feel like, you know, it's not, I personally don't really believe in like the tactic of like shaming people into action. Like, I feel like most people don't resonate with being like, oh, like you're such a shitty person. Like, you need to do better. Like, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? Like, kind of just makes you not want to do it at all. You can kind of take like the climate protesters in like Europe. Like there's like compilations of them like getting dragged and like beat up, and I mean that's a whole other thing. There's definitely a debate around being a public nuisance for the sake of bringing awareness. But I guess what I'm getting at in a way is there's just so much noise in this world. There's so much hate. People are so bitter. People just really want to criticize you and tell you why you're wrong and why what you're doing is wrong. And like, even if you approach it in a very gentle way and understanding way, as I'm trying to do, like, I'm sure there's still people that are gonna say that about what I'm saying. And there's just, I don't know, it's so much noise, and I just feel like that's part of why I wanted to leave the US, is there's just, everyone's telling you to do one thing or another. There's hustle culture, like, oh, you gotta grind, you gotta make money, like, don't pursue women, like, don't get in relationships, like, do everything for yourself, blah, blah. And then there's people who are like, oh, no, like, the system's rigged, like, there's no point in doing anything, like, do the least you can, like, blah, blah, blah. And there's no objective right or wrong, or no objective right answer, I don't think. And like, there's a lot of people that will get very polarized and hateful in trying to tell someone else that they're right and the other person's wrong. And at the end of the day, I feel like ultimately to bring solutions and bring resolution, like, you need understanding. You need to understand why things happen in the world. And there's always multiple angles and perspectives to any issue. And there's definitely people that do things that are wrong. There's also definitely a lot of people that are just looking to criticize you and shit on you for whatever you're doing. But I feel like ultimately it's up to us to just kind of be honest with ourselves. And no one can decide for you. You have to decide for yourself, what do you want from this life, and what impact do you want to make? I mean, it's okay to be lost. I was very lost, and I feel like I'm finally finding something. And I guess all this mental chaos and thinking has just kind of had me realize that there's just so much suffering in the world. And like, in making content, like, I even feel shitty sometimes, like I don't want to contribute to all this clickbait. Like, I mean, a lot of the content around Thailand is around like the sexual tourism and the prostitutes and like the being drunk and like causing mayhem and being a nuisance and all this. And yeah, I mean, I can't change people. I can try to understand them, and I can do me, and I can do what I want to do and what I feel is right. And I think ultimately that's all we can do, in a sense. And yeah, and I guess I'm kind of thinking, like, I tried doing some more content that was, I guess, a little more of like what I've seen before, like more high production, like, I don't know, but it's just, I feel like what feels best is just being truly raw. Like, when you're filming, it's a hard balance because you want things to be real. And sometimes when you're filming, like, people might react differently and stuff like that. And if you're also like I've been trying to choose like when I film, and sometimes, like, when I started, I was just going about my day. I was just living my life, and I was just filming kind of little sections as I go. And so it felt like I was just living life. But more recently, I tried kind of, I don't know, I guess I got more caught up in like I was doing multiple takes and like trying just all these things and just worrying, and that kind of defeats the whole purpose of making content. And yeah, I don't know, that's probably a tangent. I feel like I've probably been all over the place, but I guess I want to end by talking about something that, if I'm being honest, made me emotional and made me cry today, which was hearing a Muslim call to prayer. The hotel I'm staying at and the part of Bangkok I'm in is, for some reason, has a lot of Muslims. When I went to the tourist areas, I didn't really see many Muslims, but there's a lot of Muslim communities nearby, and they have these mosques, and I think 6 times a day they have their call to prayer, and they'll sing like a song or a hymn or something, and it's like a signal to that it's time to pray. And as an American, I mean, I'd never heard call to prayer before, and the first time I heard it, it made me tear up a bit too, but today it actually kind of got me more. And you know, I feel like that's kind of what prompted me to think about all this. And you know, I'm not religious really, but there was something that was just very beautiful about it. And as someone that grew up in the US, I mean, I'd seen Muslims, but I never really even interacted with Muslim people. And you know, I've been seeing a lot here, and it's been very interesting, kind of just, I don't know, observing and learning and seeing all the different things. And you know, it made me realize, like, there's so much, or I mean, in the US, and I know I talked about this in my other video, but in the US there was a time where obviously we were at war in the Middle East, and you know, people didn't really have a good view of Muslims. People were very hateful and resentful, and they'd make terrible jokes about Muslim people, and there were hate crimes, this and that. And I mean, it's a sad thing, because I feel like when you really travel a lot, and what I'm getting more and more confident in believing is that everyone's generally a good person. Everyone's trying their best for the most part. And you know, we're all different, and obviously to actually find solutions to things, it takes a lot more than just singing Kuna Matata, just holding hands and being like, oh, let's not fight, let's be friends. Blah, blah. I understand all that, but at the end of the day, it's a tragedy. It's really sad that there's so much hate and disgust and resentfulness and bitterness in the world. And you know, a lot of time it's just ignorance. I understand that, but you know, I used to be someone like that to some degree. Like over COVID, I was just not in a good place, and I was very, you know, I would go online and I'd just feel very, I just wanted to hate something, you know? And I'm sure there's a lot of you watching that maybe know people like that, or are like that, or have been like that as well at some point. But it's just so, it's so draining, and you just feel so shitty. And I guess I realized, like, I'm yearning for something real. I think that's kind of the essence of what I'm realizing as I travel. Like, I feel like a lot of us in the US, I mean, we have everything taken care of, and what's lacking is, what do we do with our lives, right? And you know, for some people there's careers, and that's something that they genuinely are very excited about and passionate about. But a lot of people, if you're like me, I mean, you kind of follow a path that's been given to you for a very long time, and then you know, you graduate college, and then it's like, okay, well, now what? What do I do with my life? And you try some different things, and it's what everyone's telling you to do, like, oh yeah, just go back to school, get a graduate degree, like, oh, do a boot camp for coding, or oh, like, blah blah. I mean, I guess even like taking gap years, although I would stand by that one. But you know, there's a lot of noise, and it's not about listening to one person or the other. It's about listening to yourself, I think, and trusting yourself. And definitely, it's worth trying things and experiencing things. I was in a place where I wasn't doing anything in my life. I wasn't going outside some days. I mean, it was just ridiculous, and I was so tired of it. And I guess what I'm getting at is that there's probably a lot of people that are just like me or were just like me and are yearning for something real. And I hope that maybe through sharing my perspective and my experiences, including through this channel and my vlogging, I can give people more of an idea of what the world really looks like, and get us more interested in understanding each other and why the world is the way it is and the context behind all these terrible things going on in the world. Because as of filming this, there's a lot of terrible things going on. We have the Israel-Palestine conflict, Ukraine-Russia, and even in Africa, I mean, there's always wars going under the radar from the West. And so, yeah, I guess I just wanted to reflect and vent and kind of put my thoughts out there. But it worked. One take, one try, speaking from the heart. I think that's what feels best for me, and I feel pretty good. So I'll stop there. Thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and take care.